We continue our exploration of George Gilder's book, Life After Capitalism, and this is the fifth part of our interpretation. George Gilder's key argument in this book is to use information theory to explain the market economy. In Shannon's information theory, a crucial concept is entropy, describing the system's degree of disorder. Higher entropy means greater uncertainty and chaos. Entrepreneurs contribute by discovering new knowledge, adding information to the system, and creating surprises, thus increasing entropy. However, not all chaos is desirable. What we want is useful information reflecting supply and demand, not noise. An important lesson from information theory is that to transmit high-entropy information efficiently, you need low-entropy channels as carriers. In the context of telecommunication, this means packaging and encapsulating a set of information before transmitting it. Useful information is high-entropy, while fiber optics serve as low-entropy channels. In the physical world, this is analogous to the role of containers. Goods are high entropy, but containers are low entropy, standardized, and predictable. Transmitting information in this way maximizes efficiency and minimizes costs. In other words, for the main character, which is useful information, to perform well, the information channels, represented by the government and financial infrastructure, should avoid adding unnecessary complexity. Their certainty should be as high as possible. If entrepreneurs are the main characters, then the information channels are the government and financial infrastructure. Gilder, in his 2013 book, Knowledge and Power. The Information Theory of Capitalism and How It Is Revolutionizing Our World, specifically addresses this issue. Entrepreneurial activities, such as exploring market feasibility and uncovering new knowledge, are inherently uncertain, similar to conducting scientific experiments. Therefore, the environment for experimentation should not add more uncertainty. It should provide entrepreneurs with stable expectations. At the very least, property rights must be protected. For entrepreneurs to expand their businesses, they must trust that the government allows such growth and won't confiscate their assets. Moreover, regulations and policies must be stable and not subject to frequent changes. Randomly providing favorable conditions for one industry today and suppressing it tomorrow undermines entrepreneurs' ability to make long-term plans. Furthermore, a stable financial environment is necessary. Interest rates, exchange rates, and inflation should be stable and predictable. If the financial market is constantly fluctuating, investment decisions become speculative rather than grounded in the investment itself. Stability is crucial for entrepreneurs to engage in meaningful planning. In Life After Capitalism, Gilder further develops the concept of a low-entropy stage. For example, there is a government that usually protects property rights and complies with laws and regulations, but it likes to intervene in the economy with industrial policies. What's the problem with that? The problem lies in the fact that the government's actions can obscure knowledge. When the government signals a particular direction by offering incentives or subsidies, it might seem benevolent. However, for entrepreneurs, this serves as a significant incentive. This signal can be so overwhelming that it obscures knowledge about whether my product is genuinely suitable for the market. For instance, after the 2008 financial crisis, China introduced the famous $4 trillion economic stimulus plan. Companies like Sany Heavy Industry faced overwhelming demand for large construction machinery. Customers didn't even care about quality. Having the product was sufficient. In such a scenario, does Sany Heavy Industry need to concern itself with the cost, performance, and quality of its products? Policy power eclipses knowledge. Originally, entrepreneurs should carefully study products and markets, trying to seize the still small trends at the time. However, if the government can casually cause significant market fluctuations, why study the market? Instead, you should study the government. One might argue that government interventions are scientifically justified. Indeed, governments conduct extensive research, but no matter how much data and computational power they possess, it's insufficient. The knowledge entrepreneurs possess, especially tacit knowledge, can only be gained through on-site experience. As Hayek noted, such knowledge cannot be incorporated into statistical data and conveyed to central authorities. Therefore, government intervention in the economy, whether protecting or suppressing an industry, generates useless chaos because it erases knowledge. Even if the overall direction is correct, there's a problem. Gilder provides an example. Under the Soviet system, inspired by the industrialization and urbanization in developed countries, the government aimed to replicate these successes. While the direction was correct, the knowledge was incomplete. The government focused on urbanization and industrialization but lacked insights on how to implement these in their unique environment. The solution was simplistic. Urban-rural disparity. Forcing farmers to deliver their produce to cities for industrial workers created a visible push toward industrialization but caused immense disaster for farmers and agricultural production. In retrospect, these grand gestures were born out of ignorance. The specific steps in the process are crucial, and growth comes from learning through practice. This explains why China's reform and opening up process, despite having the advantage of learning from the experiences of developed countries, is also a crossing the river by feeling the stones journey. Experiences on paper cannot be blindly applied. You need to allow entrepreneurs across the country to explore freely, to discover and learn implicit knowledge. Market selection should be done by the market, not the government. The government's role is to provide security, not survival guarantees. The government must restrain the impulse to intervene and control to maintain low entropy. Another system requiring low entropy is the financial system. The modern financial system is highly efficient. Different countries have their currencies and monetary policies, yet currency exchange is relatively free and convenient. Exchange rates fluctuate, but overall, the system remains stable. This allows businesses to engage in international trade without worrying too much about currency issues. Despite its efficiency, the financial system has several problems. One issue is excessive market volatility. Financial market fluctuations are more intense than those in business and investment, which is inappropriate. Finance should serve real economic activities. To reiterate, entrepreneurs already deal with market fluctuations, and finance shouldn't add more drama. In reality, due to the high volatility of financial markets, there are still arbitrage opportunities. Consequently, large amounts of money aren't invested in economic activities but rather in financial arbitrage. Moreover, the financial system is a highly centralized power structure. 10 giant banks from Western countries handle 77% of global financial transactions. All companies engaging in international trade must pay these banks intermediary fees. These banks can sanction a multinational corporation or even a country. Financial speculators like George Soros can disrupt a country's finances with hot money and then leave with the money. If financial giants dominate the market, how can entrepreneurial businesses operate? Furthermore, financial companies wield significant influence over various governments, including the United States. They spend considerable money each year lobbying governments to enact policies favorable to them. The 2008 financial crisis, caused by Wall Street's mistakes, resulted in the government spending money to bail them out. Wall Street executives continued to receive high salaries despite their failures. Financial companies, in collaboration with the government through currency control, have amassed enormous power. This power should have belonged to entrepreneurs, innovators, and citizens but ended up in the hands of bankers and politicians. You might say that the government is constantly strengthening regulations on the financial industry. True, but government financial policies often become the most significant source of volatility. The 2008 financial crisis, originating from the subprime mortgage crisis, was partly fueled by the U.S. government simultaneously lowering interest rates and implementing policies like exempting capital gains tax for selling homes, fueling the bubble. Similarly, during the COVID-19 pandemic, the U.S. government restricted normal economic activities, leaving people without money. After the pandemic, the government printed money to stimulate the economy, leading to inflation. The most significant consequence of this inflation is disrupting the entire market's value information system. Today, the financial sector is overshadowing real economic activities, making the U.S. economy highly financialized. Consumption, such as housing, cars, and university tuition, is driven by credit. Almost everything becomes a form of credit, and credit itself can be further leveraged. Everyone is playing the credit game, but does these activities create new knowledge? The financial system disrupts knowledge. In the 1950s, the financial sector accounted for only 1/40 of the U.S. economy. Now it's January 12. Many intellectuals criticize the U.S. financial system. Robert Reich, Gilder's longtime debate opponent and advocate for government intervention in the economy, published a book in 2020 titled The System. Who Rigged It? How We Fix It. Reich argues that finance is not income or wealth. It is power. He states, bankers and politicians, financiers and bureaucrats fuse, in selfish networks, with corporate dominance in campaign funding, citizens marginalized, and government regulations, ensuring corporate rewards. From an information theory perspective, the financial system's biggest problem is its volatility. If the system's fluctuations are no longer closely related to real market information and instead become a self-contained game, it becomes gambling. This might make people nostalgic for the gold standard. Gold is a low-entropy entity. The global monetary system, when based on the gold standard, had less gambling because everyone recognized gold's stable characteristics. However, today's global monetary system, without the anchor of gold, links various currencies to each other, leading to high volatility. Abandoning gold was a trade-off, as governments sought more power. In case of economic trouble, they could resort to the last option: printing more money. Regardless, it's impossible to return to the gold standard era. How can we reduce the financial system's entropy? Should we rely on Bitcoin? We'll discuss this in the next part. As the book reaches this point, I'd like to draw a comparison between George Gilder's ideas and those of a particularly popular female economist in recent years, Mariana Mazzucato. Gilder advocates that the government should simply provide infrastructure and avoid unnecessary interventions. On the other hand, Mazzucato believes in a more active role for the government. Mazzucato has gained significant attention in recent years, publishing several books consecutively. In addition to The Value of Everything mentioned earlier, 2018, she released Mission Economy in 2021 and a new book criticizing the consulting industry this year. Unfortunately, Gilder doesn't reference Mazzucato in this book. In my view, Mazzucato raises at least 3 points that Gilder should address. Firstly, data indicates that reducing taxes for entrepreneurs does not necessarily make them more willing to innovate. Instead, the saved funds often go into stock buybacks, boosting stock prices. The reality is that entrepreneurs tend to financialize their companies. Secondly, entrepreneurs are not the sole creators of knowledge. In fact, a significant portion of research outcomes related to businesses is often accomplished with government funding. One could argue that the government is the largest risk investor. Thirdly, she strongly criticizes the U.S. financial system. While I would hope for a debate between them, I don't believe their viewpoints are fundamentally contradictory. Real-world entrepreneurs engage in various activities, and the absence of government support is simply not feasible. Mazzucato's perspective can offer a more level-headed view when reading Gilder. However, concerning today's content, we can confidently say that the U.S. financial system is indeed toxic. That concludes this section. In the next part, we will discuss the ideal currency.
If you feel there is value in this, please like, subscribe to this channel, and leave your thoughts or suggestions in the comments section. Let's grow together and read more good books.